Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are breaking down the Cincinnati Bengals 2024 NFL Draft. It was a lot of fun this weekend watching all the team selections here, and NFL does a great job somehow making the draft interesting, which I find funny. So we're going to break down the Bengals selections here, but before we do that, if you have not already, go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe to the Tracy Take, and also tackle that bell to get notified when new Bengals videos come out. Trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season. And when the season starts, we're going to have weekly Bengals prediction videos for all their games, and you're not going to miss those. So be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Ryan, let's pull up the draft here. I will say this was almost the most Bengals draft I feel I could expect, especially to you go get offensive line here with this first pick. You need to try and protect Joe Burrow. Amarius Mims, yes, it was talked about a bunch, only had 8 games. We talked about it a bunch on here, and I'll say the same thing I've said all offseason. You saw him play live. And also, too, on his draft, like when he got selected and he was at home with his family, he is huge. He's like, what, 340 pounds? And
6'8", 340.
Yeah. I'm 260, and it's mainly fat. He's 340, and it's like looks like there's no fat at all.
Oh, yeah. He's huge. I remember I was at the Georgia Tech game, and Georgia was like warming up on the opposite end of the field, and like you could just tell where Amarius Mims was at all times. Like he's just so freaking big.
There was the lady sitting next to him, and it's like his forearms was as big as she was. Like he is just a behemoth of a man. And so that's where it makes sense on why he goes 18 overall here, because you see that projection. You hope that he stays healthy. I mean, you hope everybody stays healthy, but then it's just, can they just go and develop him? I think it's well worth the pick. Also, to kind of with this Bengals team with where they're at now, and also the offseason moves they made over the past couple of years, their draft classes it makes over the last couple of years. I think it's a great pick and a great developmental piece.
Yeah. So for me, if you follow the channel, I've been very critical of Amarius Mims throughout this entire draft process. I understand why you take him at 18. My big thing, he only made like 8 starts at Georgia. Technically, he's not very refined. And he had like some nagging injury issues just throughout his college career, which is why he only made those 8 starts. So definitely going to be very much a projection. However, you're betting on the tools here. And man, does he have just a litany of tools with that were given to him.
Oh yeah, so, he is the entire tool chest.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I do like him, like from a physical standpoint. I just think there are some causes for concern on why I thought he would fall in this draft. But Bengals take him here at 18. Speaking of physical freaks, let's move on to Chris Jenkins, the defensive tackle here from Michigan. Run stuffing defensive tackle, has some pass rushing upside as well. But to me, DJ Reader moved on, plug and play Chris Jenkins in the middle right there.
We actually got this pick correct from our last several mock draft. I actually didn't even replace the name. I replaced all the other names and positions and everything. But yeah, Chris Jenkins here. It once again just kind of a Bengals pick. It makes sense DJ Reader moving on. And I think as you said here, trying to beef up that defensive interior. And if you go look at that division, you go look at that AFC North football, you got to be able to run the ball and you got to be able to stop the run. So you look at the Browns. I hope Nick Chubb comes back because it's really fun to watch him play. But if he does come back, he's one of the best running backs in the league when healthy. Now you got Derrick Henry as well in the league, in the division. And you still got the Pittsburgh Steelers who beefed up their offensive line a lot. So you still got a 1,000-yard rusher, Najee Harris, back there. So you need to be able to stop that run. A guy like Chris Jenkins, I think, here has a lot of good tape that the Bengals are going to like. And so moving on, they got 2 third-round picks. They get Jermaine Burton here. I do like this selection overall. I think he can come in and help take some pressure off of Jamar Chase. T. Higgins, good developmental piece overall. And so kind of curious to see how they utilize him as well, because it seems they're still in that aspect. They have Tyler Boyd. Actually, I think Tyler Boyd's moved on.
Yeah, he's not with the team anymore.
Yeah, sorry. It was they knew that Tyler Boyd move was coming on just because the development of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and how great that 2 tandem has been. But in case T. Higgins also moves on as well, I think this is a good selection as well. They've done a good job over the past couple of years to just get some good young talent in there to potentially replace him.
Yeah, and then they have Andre Yoshivas and Charlie Jones in there as well. I was lower on Jermaine Burton. I thought he would fall to day 3 because of his off-the-field concerns. He had the assault charge on a woman after a game where he punched a woman or something in the tunnel on the way out of a game. And so like just some off the field concerns there with him, but the talent is definitely there. He would have been a top 50 pick for sure if it was not for those concerns. So Let's move on to the second third round pick. I'm not a huge fan of this one, especially right after addressing the Chris Jenkins right there. But you do need two defensive tackles, especially defensive tackles usually only play about starting defensive tackles only play about 60% of the snaps. So getting another guy in rotation there with McKinley Jackson, I would have loved to actually see them go and get a third running back to get in rotation with this pick. They ended up not addressing the running back position at all after Joe Mixon moved on. But guys like Audric Estime were there that I really liked. Jalen Wright, the running back from Tennessee, was also there that I felt would have been maybe a better pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can understand that, especially since they run the more traditional 4-3 solid defense as well. So with more traditional edge rusher like with Trey Hendrickson and whatnot. So I can understand you want to beef up that defensive interior here in case if Chris Jenkins isn't the guy, you can go get McKinley Jackson here. And McKinley Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, that too, he is a little bit more of a nose tackle. He's 326, 6'2", 326, while Chris Jenkins more of that now kind of modern day speed defensive tackle. Yeah, it's just shy of 300 pounds. So I think it's a good little variety. But I can kind of agree with your point. I remember when they double dipped at defensive tackle, felt like Chris Jenkins was enough, but also a little bit meatier of a guy here. So
well, and that was like I don't mind the double dip. It's just with the top 100 pick, especially when you have so many day 3 picks that we're about to get into. I just felt maybe they could have gone another route with this one specifically. So let's get into the day 3 picks here. Eric All, the tight end from Iowa. This guy, he was a little bit of a late riser, but he's a good athlete. They do ask tight ends to do a lot of blocking in that system over there. So definitely, I think a good pick here. Iowa tight ends have worked out for guys in the past. So I like that one. Josh Newton was a highly touted corner out of TCU. And then Tanner McLaughlin, the tight end from Arizona. Maybe some people would say a sleeper in this draft class, but more of a receiving tight end that has some upside there as well with the first 6th round pick.
Yeah, and then wrapping out here, their final 3 picks: Cedric Johnson, edge rusher; Dejon Anthony, safety; and then Matt Lee, center as well. I think just some more depth pieces. Yeah, and so not anything too crazy. I think about them. I mean, just late day 3 picks. Yeah. Hope that these guys pan out. I think with the new special teams rule, I think getting a guy like Johnson or Dejon Anthony, I think this is going to be interesting to see how they utilize them in the special teams, or even to like a guy like Matt Lee, if he's a quick center, but can go and block really well. It's just interesting to see how teams are going to really utilize these late round picks and valued these last couple picks here to applying it to the special teams. So I think it'll be fascinating to watch. So Ryan and I, we graded each team against one another as well, not just individually on its own. So moving on to our draft grades, I ended up giving them a B. As I kind of said at the beginning, I felt like this was just the kind of draft I thought the Bengals would go, focusing on the offensive line and defensive line as well. Like the players that they got, but wasn't anything that was too outstanding overall. Ryan, you were a little bit more critical of them, C+. Yeah. Why'd you go with a C+?
I just felt with my criticisms of Amarius Mims and just him as a prospect, I felt he was going to go in the 2nd round. So taking him there at 18 felt a little high for me. I understand the pick. He is this like freak, the 6'8", 340-pound freak that is still a really good athlete and whatnot. I just think there's a lot of risk associated with that pick. I also didn't love the double dip at tackle in the top 100. And I did put an emphasis on the top 100 picks over the day 3 picks. And then also the fact that they never drafted a running back in this running back rich class, I think was another knock for me. But to me, so my average grade for most teams was in that B- to B range. And so this is just like ever so slightly below average. Again, the risky 1st round pick, double dip at defensive tackle in the top 100, and then not addressing the running back. It's just kind of why I knocked it a little bit.
I think on running back point, I will say, I think they got Chase Brown in last year's class, and he really came on strong. And I think kind of proved that he could be a number 1 back for them in the second half last year. That they got Zach Moss as well to back him up. So I think that they're okay there, but I can understand your point. It maybe is a little bit different or against the grain than a lot of other teams now who seem like they just want to load up on these just good running backs that just like keep changing them in and out. And so maybe I could have seen them going a running back, especially after moving on from Joe Mixon. But in general, though, I think running back isn't as big of a need for teams as what it used to be.
No, yeah. So all in all, I think they did add some good players. I'm very excited to see what the Bengals do in 2024, as they're going to be a lot healthier than they were in 2023. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Cincinnati Bengals 2024 draft class. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? Then that we'll see you guys next time.